Tonight, health professionals ready to roll out Pfizer vaccinations to regional locals over the age of 16. And severe rain and windy conditions hit the Eyre Peninsula.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. Rural South Australians aged between 16 to 49 can today receive the Pfizer vaccine as part of a regional rollout. To speed up the process after a slow start, those eligible are encouraged to schedule an appointment soon.
Young people living in country areas said to be prioritised to get a COVID-19 jab. Across the Spencer Gulf, Port Pirie's GP Plus, Whyalla Hospital and Port Augusta Hospital among the facilities now offering the Pfizer rollout.
In our country clinics, we're opening up for anybody aged over the age of 16.
The plan is to increase momentum of the vaccination program following criticism over a sluggish start.
Obviously, this is for people that live in those regional centres, and so you will need to show proof of your residency. All the information will be up on our website.
Might be your driver's licence, an electricity bill or the like.
The Pfizer vaccine deemed safer for under 50s amid rare blood clotting linked to AstraZeneca. That jab will still be available for those over 50. Regional opposition members welcoming the rural Pfizer program, saying it's about time.
So we've got a lot of catching up to do. I think it's important that young people do get vaccinated.
Residents now encouraged to go online to book an appointment.
SA Health website, it'll have a clear map showing what regional South Australia means from an SA Health point of view.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Meanwhile, Victorians and locals who have visited COVID-19 exposure sites in Melbourne have been blocked from entering South Australia, following new travel restrictions which came into effect last night. Anyone who has travelled into the state from listed hotspots is required to quarantine for 14 days. It comes as the rest of the country implements various safety measures to stop the spread. The Melbourne cluster has grown to 9, with a link to a South Australian quarantine hotel. A second arrest has been made in relation to 12 kilograms of cannabis uncovered in a Port Broughton home by police. Police say they found the drugs at the end of April. A 71-year-old man was arrested. A 29-year-old Bukerna man was charged last Friday with trafficking a large commercial quantity of cannabis and weapon offences. He was granted bail and will appear in court next month. Whyalla Steelworks owner GFG Alliance has taken a step forward following recent refinancing changes. Liberty Steel Group alongside GFG Sanjeev Gupta announcing they're in full discussions with Credit Suisse to reach a formal standstill agreement on its Liberty Primary Metals Australia business while refinancing is completed. This would mean the companies would pay out to the financial services organisation in full. Parts of the region have been lashed by wild weather today, with the lower Eyre Peninsula receiving a much-needed soaking. Port Lincoln's SES responding to a handful of call-outs as wind gusts wreaked havoc across the city.
The storm rolled in thick and fast overnight as Port Lincoln disappeared behind a thick blanket of cloud. Heavy rain pelted the region while strong wind gusts uprooted and downed trees across the region. Farmers had their eyes to the skies as rain started to fall. Mount Hope got a soaking with 35 millimetres, Streaky Bay received 26 millimetres, while Elliston recorded 25. Port Lincoln also getting a downpour of 15 millimetres.
So I think that'll get us through for seeding, and there'll be some follow-up next week or two. So yeah, looking very good.
So we did see some gusts up around the 80 kilometre an hour mark. Still some pretty good winds around this morning, just a little bit more west-northwesterly.
Authorities were kept busy responding to a handful of call-outs overnight as a severe weather warning was issued.
Hoping that it stays quiet, but at this stage we're just taking it as it comes.
The rain has been a welcome reprieve for growers across the region, with many taking the risk to dry seed, hoping for this rain.
It'll just give us a lot of confidence to be able to forward sell grain and also just everything agriculturally.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, a controversial proposal to build a playground on a Broken Hill lead site receives backlash. And an Olympic swimmer inspires students at a Port Augusta primary school. Welcome back. Accommodation providers are set to receive yet another boost, with round 4 of the government's Great State Voucher scheme to go live later this week. Local operators say they're grateful to be involved.
It's another cash boost for the state's tourism economy. Round 4 of the government's Great State Vouchers open for ballot this Friday, opening the doors to more hotel rooms across South Australia this winter, with midweek stays now available.
We've now got some new operators who've never been involved in the process before, so they're understandably really excited about being involved.
Recipients can score a $100 voucher to be used at participating CBD and North Adelaide hotels, or a $50 voucher for use in regional and suburban areas. Local accommodation providers say they're pleased to be involved in another round.
The first one I received 11 bookings, which I thought was fantastic. I thought, if we got 1 or 2, it'd be great. Went in the second one, thought about the same, and ended up getting 18 bookings.
But Shadow Tourism Minister Zoe Bettison says while Labor supports the scheme, the party is calling for an increase in the voucher value and an expansion of the eligibility to include all tourism operators.
I'd like to see both the value of CBD and regional vouchers to $200, expand the eligibility to include hospitality venues, travel agents, experiences, tours and attractions.
Katrina Musson at 7 Spencer Golf News.
Broken Hill City Council says it has nothing to do with a controversial proposal to build a playground on top of the line of load. Experts in the community have been raising concerns over lead levels at the site, said to be the highest in the city. Our reporter Lachlan Itter has the details.
An environmental scientist has told 7 Spencer Golf News the line of load is the most heavily contaminated lead site in Broken Hill, and plans to build a playground here defy logic.
Playing on a lead contaminated playground, do we need to discuss it any further? I'm sorry, it doesn't pass the pub test.
The proposal making headlines after sponsored social media posts similar to this began appearing in news feeds, linking to a survey asking for feedback over plans to build a playground at the site. Professor Mark Taylor, who studied Broken Hill's lead levels, says travellers would be put at risk visiting the iconic spot.
They are unwittingly exposing themselves to a place that we all know is a place of exposure, and that's irresponsible.
The project is part of Crown Land's master plan for the attraction, a spokesperson saying that plans were presented to the community in 2016 and no concerns have been raised about the playground since.
No rates from council, no input from council in regards to the project.
Council says its only role would be to look at any development applications. The survey remains open for another 2 weeks. The department says all feedback will be assessed before any decisions are made.
An Olympian touched down in Port Augusta today, marking a special milestone with a talk to Wilston Primary School students. It's part of the Olympics Unleashed program, aiming to inspire and motivate students to be their personal best.
It's not every day you meet an Olympian, but for these Wilston Primary School students, today they had a special visitor.
Olympic swimmer here today, and she's won 2 medals, gold medals.
Australian Olympic swimmer Brittany Elmsley visited the school, hoping to inspire students to set and achieve their goals. While she has retired from swimming, the gold medalist says it's important to motivate youth.
But also realise their own ability and believe in themselves, and that's probably the biggest key message that I have for them today is making them self-proud.
It's part of the Olympics Unleashed program, which has seen more than 12,000 students across 100 schools, with her visit today marking the 100th for South Australia.
It's a very special visit and I'm so glad that I get to be a part of it and meet the kids today and tell them a bit about my story and my journey towards competing at the Olympics.
For these students, they say they feel inspired to try and reach their goals.
I just want to be best football star like my uncles.
It's always good to have a goal so you can chase that goal.
You should follow your dreams and do what you love best and be passionate at it.
And they even got their hands on a gold medal.
It is very heavy and it's also a very, it's an only one-time thing because I probably won't be able to hold this once again.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Broken Hill business owners discuss how to capitalise on an upcoming music festival. And a local food hub busier than ever, feeding those in need. Hello again. There's been a strong response from businesses hoping to capitalise on the upcoming Broken Hill Hillmundi Bash. Council and event organisers engaging in frank discussions at an information session last night.
As far as council information sessions go, this is one impressive turnout. Business owners filling the Civic Centre, so many people they didn't fit in the original meeting area.
We had planned for a smaller space, thinking that would get 30 to 50 people. To get 85 plus people is absolutely outstanding.
The turnout showing businesses are understanding just how significant the Broken Hill Hillmundi Bash is. The festival expected to inject millions into the local economy.
There's some good preparation happening. There's some good vibes. People are looking to take advantage of all the people coming to town in the event. I think it's all positive, really.
For locals, it was a chance to ask the tough questions. Parking, shuttle buses and accommodation shortages proving hot topics. Council has plans to bring people to the CBD, but from there it's largely up to businesses.
It's going to be very difficult unless all the businesses are going to regulate their hours.
Organisers say the surge in town will happen before and after the festival, hoping businesses will remain open until 8 p.m. to complement Council's fringe event.
It's not just a council thing and it's not just a business thing, it's a collective, and I think tonight's shown that there's a lot of goodwill and passion around Broken Hill.
Last night's showing there's still plenty of work to do, but with another meeting requested as soon as next month, it's work worth doing. Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
It's been confirmed the incumbent New South Wales member for Parks, Mark Coulton, will recontest the seat at the next federal election. Mr Coulton was pre-selected as the Nationals candidate for Parks over the weekend. It will be the 6th time he's been pre-selected, having held the seat for 14 years. Australians will need to head to the polls before May next year, but an election could be held as early as August. Meanwhile, the member for Barwon will be in Broken Hill for the week. Water and health set to dominate discussions. Roy Butler adamant floodplain harvesting rules won't pass the upper house unless flow targets are introduced downstream. He says triggers which allow other states to access water from the Menindee Lakes could be increased to improve the system's health.
That's one of the ideas that the Minister has thrown some support towards, but also the important thing is walking away from the water savings project as it stood previously.
Mr Butler has also raised concerns over locals having to travel interstate for healthcare. He will be holding an informal chat session at the Broken Hill pub tomorrow evening. A historic poet has been finally recognised in Port Lincoln after more than 90 years since his death. Council unveiling the plaque outside the Nautilus Arts Centre to recognise Tom Black's contribution to literature. Local historians say it's a big win for the city after fighting for more than a decade to honour the poet.
I was the last person standing, so I've just kept on and on and on till making presentations to the council to ask if they would honour Tom Black.
Mr Black spent several years living in Broken Hill before returning home to Port Lincoln in the early 1900s. Port Pirie's food hub is busier than ever, with many residents doing it tough, burdened with financial hardships following a tough year. The centre is now calling for more community donations, struggling to meet the demand.
Helping those who need it most, Port Pirie's non-for-profit food hub ran off its feet.
As those in the community that are in financial hardship, we certainly have a lot of young families that visit the food hub and also elderly people that come to the food hub.
It follows a whirlwind year where many residents were impacted financially by COVID-19 restrictions. Now winter is upon us and food hub volunteers are desperate to keep the good deeds going.
We've had a lot of people here that are in need of the services, and sometimes this could be the only hot meal that they have.
However, the centre is facing a new crisis with the shelves potentially becoming empty. Despite food donations by major supermarkets, they're hoping community groups could lend a helping hand.
Purchase our stock from Food Bank that we pass on to our community. Unfortunately, they're having trouble sourcing supplies, so we're certainly putting a shout out to the community and any sort of community groups.
Running very low in stock, and we would love any business out there, any organisations that can help us out and provide either monetary or do a food drive.
Volunteers say it's a very rewarding job to help those struggling in the community.
Two-way street. I get a lot of enjoyment knowing that I'm helping the community, I'm helping those less fortunate than myself.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Nathan Rector will bring us all the results from weekend sport. And we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. In the Port Lincoln Netball Association, Imperial easily accounted for Boston by 14 goals, while in the other match, top of the table Wanilla were defeated by Wayback. Our reporter Nathan Rector has this week's sports wrap.
Previously undefeated Wanilla suffered their first loss of the season in a back and forth encounter with Wayback, Wanilla eventually going down 45-47. While Imperial defeated Boston's 45 goals to 31 in their match. In Wyler's Netball Association, Warriors went down to True Blue 35-46, and top of the table Kiwis had a big win over 4th placed Ravens, winning by 53 goals. In Port Augusta Netball Association, St Joseph's secured the game by 17 goals against Corn in Saturday's match, while the Vikings were sent packing against the Railways 54-36. Over in Port Pirie, and Celtic scored 49 against Central's 37, while in the other game, Blue Wren had a big win against Solly's 60-43. Blue Wren's Maddie Young crowned the Player of the Week. In the A-grade reserves, and Blue Wren managed to secure 64 goals to Central's 30. In the other match, Celtics defeated Solomon Town 48-30. Up in the Silver City, and it was round 11 in the Netball Association, Morgies had a close game against the New Kids 15-19, while Nabsters were thrashed by West Flames Black 46-8. Moving over to soccer now, and in Whyalla, it was round 1 of the Jim Lorison League Championship. In the A-grade, Croatia secured 3 goals to Lions 1, while in the other match, it was a seesaw competition between Wanderers and Still United. Both teams using some smart ball movements on the field in a nail-biter of a game. The two teams drawing 3-3 by the end of the game. That's all for sport this week. We'll be back Friday with footy tips and all the weekend action on Monday.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby, and good evening, everyone. As Nathan reported earlier, parts of the region were lashed by wild weather today. Wild winds hitting Port Lincoln, while the lower air peninsula received a deluge, but conditions are expected to ease throughout the week. More on that a little further down the bulletin. From 3 p.m. today, Whyalla was 19, Cleve was wet and windy and it reached 14, partly cloudy in Cooper Pedy and it was 18 degrees there. Looking further across the region now, Port Augusta was 19, wind eased and it was partly cloudy at Broken Hill, reaching a max of 21 degrees there. Rainy and windy in Port Lincoln, it was 16 there, 17 in Adelaide, Woodner 15, a top of 14 in Kadina and Clare, Port Pirie reached 18. Taking a look at the satellite image now, cloud crossing the southeast with brisk winds following a passage of a front is generating rain and showers. High cloud over the northeast associated with this frontal system is not bringing rain. Skies are otherwise mostly clear with a dry air mass and high pressure ridge. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Northwesterly winds 20 to 30 knots, seas between 2 and 3 metres, and south to southwesterly swell around 1 metre. A short time ago, there were a number of warnings current for South Australia, including alerts for marine wind, ship graziers, and a severe weather warning for some parts. Cloudy conditions across the Gulf tomorrow. Port Lincoln 18, Cleve 16, Woodner set to top 17, Whyalla, Port Augusta and Kadina all forecast to top 18 degrees, Port Pirie 27, Clare cloudy and 14, and Broken Hill will top 16. Taking a look further through the week now, partly cloudy conditions again across the region. Port Augusta, Port Pirie and Port Lincoln will all reach 19, Broken Hill set to reach 17. Very similar conditions on Friday, with temperatures to be in the mid to high teens mainly, except for in Port Pirie, where it's set to top 20 degrees. Broken Hill will record the region's low with a top of 16 there. And clearing up on Saturday with sunny conditions set for Cooper Pedy, Broken Hill, Kadina and Adelaide. Partly cloudy across the rest of the Gulf, a top of 19 for Cooper Pedy, while it'll be 15 in Broken Hill. So some beautiful conditions are in store for the weekend with a look of that forecast, Ruby. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. It's back to you.
Wonderful, thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Tuesday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.